Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of Red Doctor Projections. I'm Lucas, and I have Eric here as always.
Hey guys.
We are back after a really long time, actually. And today we'll be giving our updated 2022 Senate election prediction. Obviously, a lot has changed in our predictions since the 2021 elections, and that were, to be quite honest, very bad for the Democrats. So we'll take a look and see what exactly changed. And with that being said, let's get right into it. All right,
Yeah,
so Eric is going to start by putting in all the safe states that we have. We're going to be leaving out certain states actually that were at first safe but no longer are.
not New Hampshire.
Now New Hampshire, we'll talk about that. We got some big updates there. We actually got a lot of big across the country that we'll be discussing.
Yeah, and that's about it for the Democratic states, I believe. Um,
Yeah, and now we're gonna fill in the Republicans. Again, the usual suspects here. Iowa, I'll quickly discuss. Chuck Grassley is running for re-election, so he's basically going to trounce Abby Finkenhauer. He's just a very well-known figure, been there for a really long time. Democrats thought they could win it if Grassley were to retire. That obviously did not end up happening. Missouri is an open seat. Roy Blunt is currently retiring. We don't know who the Republican nominee is going to be yet, but given the elections that happened 3 weeks ago, it's very unlikely that any Democrat can win back the state.
yeah, and talking about Ohio, as some of you may know, Tim Ryan a couple months ago, or maybe more than a couple months ago, announced that he's running. He was a Democratic representative, but once again, just given the environment and the poor performance from very recent elections, we kind of expect at this time, we're making this prediction as of today. There's still a year from now until the elections, and we'll talk about what Biden needs to do, and he's like the main suspect that's going to change this all. But anyways, Josh Mandel is the primary prominent candidate, and he can probably sweep this if he wins the nomination.
Yep. And one more, Alaska, I think we're going to say is safe now because they did pass ranked choice voting recently, which means that the likely two final candidates will be Lisa Murkowski, the more moderate candidate, and Kelly Shubaka. I believe that's how you pronounce her last name, the Trump endorsed candidate. And that should be it. Oh no, also Kentucky. Rand Paul, very libertarian Republican, is running for re-election, probably going to win. Let's quickly head to the likely states now. Starting with Oregon, we actually moved this one to likely, and we also moved Connecticut to likely, which is currently held by Richard Blumenthal. So our reasoning behind this is that we think that given the political environment as of today, these two states, although they are definitely going to be won by the Democrats, it's going to be less than 15 points.
Yeah, tough
So
environment.
yeah.
That's going to be a very recurring theme.
And now I'm going to actually hand it over to Eric now, who's going to be discussing New Hampshire.
Right, so we have big news in New Hampshire, and at first it was very promising, but it's a net positive for the Democrats. This is all very promising news for the Democrats, but they still have to kind of keep their eyes open because of the 2021 elections. As we know, Kristen Sununu is a very prominent, very popular Republican in the in New Hampshire state legislature. He actually announced we were really expecting him to really run because um, he would definitely win the Senate seat. And before the election, he would need every single, seat to possibly switch it over to the Republican side. But he announced that he isn't running. So the Democrats kind of got relieved. But after this election in New Jersey and Virginia, they have to be cautious. So Maggie Hassan, the Democrat, is in the state, and she's probably going to win it because Chris Sununu isn't running. That was her main opponent. But now that he's not running, she's probably going to win, but probably in like a lean. Yeah, not till lean. So anywhere from 1 to 5 points. I would assume, once again, if this is taken as of today, she would probably win in around 3 points, 3 to 4 points. That would be my guess.
Mm-hmm. And I actually want to add that Republicans in New Hampshire, they had actually three decent to, I would say top tier candidates to run. There was Kristen Sununu, who of course announced he was not running, Kelly Ayotte, who's the former senator here, and also Scott Brown, who was a former senator from Massachusetts who ran for the New Hampshire Senate seat in 2014 and lost narrowly to Jean Shaheen. I think the funny thing about this was in the same day that Kristen Sununu announced that he wasn't running, both Ayotte and Scott Brown and also announced they were not going to be running for the seat. And that basically canceled out all the quote unquote winnable candidates that Republicans could run in New Hampshire. Now it's looking like Danny Morse, I think that's his name. He's the current president of the New Hampshire State Senate, might be the nominee they're running, and he's nowhere as near as recognized across the state as someone like Ayotte or Scott Brown or Kristen Sununu is. And this goes back to the general pattern that we're seeing across the country. Democrats are running really good candidates if it was a competitive year, in winnable seats. But obviously that's like kind of not being the case anymore given the environment. They're, running Beto O'Rourke for governor in Texas, and Joe Cunningham in South Carolina, and Abby Finkenhauer in Iowa, John Fetterman, Connor Lamb in Pennsylvania. But this is not their year, given the environment, given Joe Biden's approval rating, at least as of today. Republicans, on the other hand, across the country, kind of are failing to field really good candidates. They failed to get Kristen Sununu to run. They failed to get Brian Sandoval to run in New Nevada. So we're just gonna keep an eye on this, but it's really interesting to see that Democrats are running really good candidates, but Republicans are failing to do so when honestly they could be picking up more seats if they ran better candidates in different states. But anyway, I'll head now to the state of Colorado, which is currently held by Michael Bennet. So I actually moved this state to lean Democratic from likely. And again, I still think that Michael Bennet will win. He's a pretty good candidate, and I think Republicans are running that Olympic swimmer. I forgot his name, but I think that Michael Bennet is well known enough that he will win this seat, but it'll just be below 5 points if the election was held today. So
Yep. He ran for president and he's an incumbent senator. So Coloradans know him. I think in this case, the Democrats don't have to worry too much. And with their limited resources, they have a lot more races where they can be investing their time and energy. So Colorado for them should be a pickup or a keep, I should say.
I agree. And Eric, let's head down to the state of Florida. You can take this one away.
Sure. So here we got Marco Rubio, and honestly, that's all I have to say. Val Demings is running here, but we've established a lot. We won't say it enough. This is not the Democrats' year as of now. And also, Florida, which is trending Republican recently. And also, Marco Rubio is just a really good candidate. He's ran in the 2016 election, so he has some name recognition. And in Florida, though, he's extremely popular. He's like a Hispanic Republican senator, so he can definitely attract and take away Latino support from, the Democrats who really need them. And with that said, along with the type of year Democrats are expecting, he's probably going to take this in the usual likely margin.
I agree. Even if this was a good environment for Democrats, it would have been really hard to flip Florida in the first place. Let's head now to the state of, let's do Pennsylvania. This one is actually a change in our rating. We are moving this from lean D to tilt R to lean R. So like somewhere between tilt and lean. Our reason for this, again, is how bad the environment is. Of course, in Pennsylvania, it was better compared to other states. In Pennsylvania, there was a Supreme Court seat up, and Republicans won the seat by around 2 to 3 points, which although they, it was a victory for Republicans across the country. You had Phil Murphy winning by 3 points and Glenn Youngkin winning by 3 points. So compared to the other states, Pennsylvania wasn't too bad for Democrats. But again, we think that the environment right now does not favor them. Currently, I believe this is one of the big updates we had. Sean Parnell, who was poised to become the Republican nominee has dropped out. I think he recently lost custody of his children, so he chose to drop out of the race. Plus, he had a bunch of scandals with him and his wife. And now we're really waiting to see who the Republicans might nominate. I was hearing maybe Ryan Costello might run, Guy Reschenthaler might run, but we're gonna wait and see on Pennsylvania. But again, given the environment right now, it's not looking good for either Connor Lamb or John Fetterman to win the Senate seat.
Somebody
Eric.
someone make an environment count in the comments, but that doesn't make it any less important. It is a
Yeah.
very present threat, and the Democrats have to start changing the platform if they want to see some sort of attraction of any moderate, independent, or even Republican voters. All right, where are we heading to next?
Anywhere.
Yeah, I guess let's head to Wisconsin. That's also, I think, something worth mentioning. Lucas, you can take it.
Okay, so in Wisconsin right now, we haven't heard yet whether Ron Johnson would be running or not. Currently, if Ron Johnson were to not run, I would see someone like Mike Gallagher to run, who is currently representative. Ron Johnson, before the elections at least, it looked like he did want to retire, but it's tough to tell now given the election that occurred. This is what might be pushing a lot of the people who were on the fence initially to run, because they're seeing the election results and or at least Republicans, they're seeing the results and they're thinking, wow, if Republicans are coming this close to winning New Jersey, maybe they can win in Wisconsin. So personally, I do think Ron Johnson will run for re-election. If he does, that will definitely spell trouble for Democrats. I would see Ron Johnson winning, and I do have this race as lean R. And again, I know Eric joked about the environment counter, but it's just the political environment right now. It's just really not good for Democrats. Joe Biden's approval rating currently is like down the drain. I'm not gonna lie, it's not good. But again, we still are 1 year out from the elections, so we still have time to see some sort of rebound for him if he can make that possible. As of right now, not good. I actually do want to quickly add Vermont. It's obviously not a competitive election, but we recently heard that Patrick Leahy will be retiring. He's the current president pro tempore. Peter Welch has announced that he is running for the seat. He's the current Vermont representative. He is probably going to become the next senator of Vermont. I thought I'd just point that out.
Yep, all right. I think,
Eric, I think lean are not likely.
oh yeah, whoopsies, my
Yeah.
bad.
All right.
I think next we can head to Arizona because that's also
Okay.
what we're talking about. This is another flip that we had, I believe, from last race. So I think Lucas and I agree that this is going to be anywhere also from lean to tilt. Yeah, lean to tilt R. So this is another flip, which is surprising because, as Lucas said, Democrats everywhere are running pretty good candidates. Like in the state of Arizona, Mark Kelly, who won the special race, is up again for re-election for a full term. And as we talked about in previous videos, he's a good candidate. He's a likable guy. His wife has political experience. And right now, it doesn't really seem like he's upsetting the state of Arizona. But again, anticipating what we see coming, he's probably, as of now, going to lose this race because there are two main candidates that are up here in the Republican primary. One is Mark Brnovich, who is the current Attorney General of Arizona. He's actually, for the Republicans, the better candidate to run, more anti-Trump, which Arizonians like, and he's also an Attorney General, so he has political experience. And I believe the second one is Blake Masters. He's the less favorable candidate for Republicans to run, less political experience, and Mark Kelly has a better chance for him. But this will probably go anywhere from, some between 0.1 and like 3 is my guess as of now. Not really looking good unless the Democrats change their strategy.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think that even though Mark Kelly's extremely popular and he's a really good candidate, he ran ahead of Biden by like 2.5 points, I want to say. It's tough to tell, given what's going to happen. Arizona is one of those swingy states where really the candidate does matter. Mark Kelly actually did help. I do believe that Mark Kelly helped push Joe Biden over the finish line in such a narrow margin. Let's head on to Nevada, which is another interesting state. Recently we've seen a lot of people actually move their Nevada prediction from something like likely or lean D to some people even putting it as tilt R, tilt or lean R. Personally, we do have this one as tilt D. We obviously accounted for the recent political trends and the popularity of the current president. Republicans are running Adam Laxalt. Again, I don't think he'll win. I don't think he's the best candidate to run. We've emphasized before that Brian Sandoval probably is the best Republican candidate to run in this state. And Catherine Cortez Masto is like relatively favorable. I won't say decently popular. And I think that she will be able to win the state based on, Las Vegas perhaps turning out for her. Of course, the concern is that Nevada is trending to the right. I think we've seen Clark County go more to the right. That's where Las Vegas is located. But overall, we don't think that trend will be enough to flip the election to Adam Laxalt. So we have this one as tilt D. Georgia and North Carolina left. I'll actually take Georgia right now. Georgia, we have it as tilt R, actually. I actually see Raphael Warnock as actually a pretty good candidate compared to Herschel Walker, who is, has been bundled in a bunch of scandals recently regarding him and his wife. But overall, I think what pushes me over on this prediction is, again, just the Republican energy that they have on their side. Republicans are going to be able to turn out their numbers to elect Republican candidates because they disapprove of the president right now. And I think a lot of Democrats face voter apathy. They really don't feel like going out and voting. And that's really bad for them in a state like Georgia. And even though Georgia's trending a lot to the left, especially because of those suburban areas near Atlanta, I don't think it'll push Raphael Warnock over if the election were to be held today. And again, we have lots of time. As of today, I don't see that happening. And finally, Eric, North Carolina.
Yeah. So I think here, kind of, if we think about it, if Republicans were able to take Virginia, like in a landslide, like almost all of their state districts, we can't really expect even more competitive state like North Carolina to fare well for the Democrats. And that this prediction kind of reflects off of that. The main Republican candidates, I think the top two that I've narrowed it down to is Ted Budd, who's a U.S. representative, and Pat McCrory. He was a former governor of North Carolina, and both of them have declared. And on the Democratic side, I think the main candidate that they can run is Sherry Beasley, former justice of the North Carolina Supreme Court. But either way, no matter the quality of any candidate from any side, there's just the excitement, the Democratic excitement at the moment is not there. And that's why we think North Carolina is going to go in a likely margin. And Lucas can elaborate upon this too.
Yeah, I agree with you. Even though Democrats are running a pretty decent candidate with Sherry Beasley, who outran Biden by, I want to say, around like a point or so, it's still going to be really difficult for her to win given the Republican energy that they have that kind of propelled Glenn Youngkin to win the governorship. This one is more like teetering between likely R and lean R. As of now, we don't think that she'd be able to pull out a victory over someone like Ted Budd. If she's against Mark McCrory, but Pat McCrory, then maybe she has a better chance against him given his unpopularity and his scandals. Even then, if the environment is like what it is now, it doesn't look too great for her. And that marks the end of the video for today. Let us know your opinions on our prediction. This is obviously way different than our previous one, given Tuesday night's events. But if you like this episode, please hit like one. If you like our content, please subscribe. And we'll see you in our next episode tomorrow.
See ya.